This has been a rough couple of weeks for President Biden as he fights for his political life and to stay as the Democratic Party's nominee. There are people in the House and the Senate who have come forward and demanded that he step down, but there also are supporters in Congress. And one of his biggest supporters is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And she went live on her Instagram last night, fed up and wanting to speak directly to the voters. She wanted people to know exactly what is happening behind the scenes and what is motivating these people to push President Biden out. Wait until you hear what she had to say. I'll show you guys some highlights from her live stream and talk about the whole situation coming right up. Ever since Biden's rough debate performance a few weeks ago, there have been plenty of people making the case that Biden can't win and he'll drag down the entire ballot with him, meaning we're going to lose the Senate and not win the House. And when Congress came back from their July 4th recess, some members came forward with that exact position. But there were also some members that came out in support of President Biden. And it wasn't who people were expecting. It was the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, led by Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here is AOC on the Capitol Hill steps making the case for Biden 10 days ago.
I have spoken with him extensively. He made clear then, and he has made clear since, that he is in this race. The matter is closed. He had reiterated that this morning. He has reiterated that to the public. Joe Biden is our nominee. He is not leaving this race. He is in this race, and I support him. Now, what I think is critically important right now is that we focus on what it takes to win in November, because he is running against Donald Trump, who is a man with 34 felony convictions that has committed 34 felony crimes, and not a single Republican has asked for Donald Trump to not be the nominee.
That was and continues to be a brave position for a member of Congress to take. There's not a lot of people out there giving a full-throated defense of Joe Biden. If you listen to the media and all the elected officials that have come forward, they'll tell you that Joe Biden has no chance and we need to replace him. And listen to Senator Bernie Sanders on Morning Joe recently making the case for Joe Biden.
President Biden wants to end all medical debt in this country. He has a massive housing program which will deal with the crisis that exists all over this country. He understands that in the midst of massive income and wealth inequality, maybe it's time for the billionaire class to start paying their fair share of taxes. And by the way, he is running against the guy who doesn't believe that climate change is real, while every scientist in the world tells us the future of the planet depends upon us acting aggressively to cut carbon emissions. So I think maybe if we start focusing on his record, start focusing on what he is trying to do, not only is he going to win, I think he has a chance to win very, very in a big way, because working class people in this country are hurting. They want specific ideas as to how their lives are going to be improved.
So after weeks of nonstop chatter and sources behind the scenes leaking little details to the press and rumors swirling about this and that with Joe Biden, AOC decided she had enough and wanted to speak directly to the voters by going live on her Instagram account. And during that stream, she wanted to let people know what is really motivating these people to push Joe Biden out and what their plan is. Watch this.
I'm going to say what a lot of these folks aren't saying. I'm just going to say it. If you think that there is consensus among the people who want Joe Biden to leave, that they will support Vice President Harris, you would be mistaken. And I'm going to say that because if they're going to come out and say all their little things on background off the record, but they're not going to be fully honest, I'm going to be honest for them. I'm in these rooms. I see what they say in conversations. A lot of them are not just interested in removing the president. They are interested in removing the whole ticket.
It is becoming quite clear that a lot of people are trying to skip Kamala Harris as the presidential nominee if it's not going to be Joe Biden. And that's not going to fly with a lot of people out there in America. I'm all for having a conversation about who the nominee will be if Joe Biden decides he's not going to run. But the disrespect being shown to Kamala Harris is just astounding. I want to hear a plan about how we win. Don't just tell me that Joe Biden can't win and he needs to drop out. You need to go further than that. You need to say who can win and what the plan is. And AOC went on in her live stream to talk about what's at stake here, because this is not a game. Donald Trump winning is not an option. Check out what she said.
What I will say is what upsets me is people saying we will lose. For me, I don't care who, to a certain extent, I don't care what name is on there. We are not losing. I don't know about you, but my community does not have the option to lose. My community does not have the luxury of accepting loss in July of an election year. Like, my people are the first ones deported. They're the first ones put in Rikers. They're the first ones whose families are killed by war. And this is horrific. I'm not here to like say everything is amazing, okay? I'm not here to say that like, oh, you know, to lie to people. What I am here to say is that we need to make decisions in the conditions that we have before us.
AOC also had some thoughts on what's going on with these polls. And I thought for a while, these polls are off. I remember in 2022, the polls were showing Senate races like Patty Murray in Washington or Michael Bennet in Colorado being a toss-up. And these guys went on to win by like 14, 15 points. So I've been a little skeptical of the polls for a while. And that being said, I've seen polls that are coming out now that show Senate candidates in states like Wisconsin up 5-6 points, and then Biden's down to Trump by 5-6 points. Well, how can that be? I think what people are seeing is a generic congressional candidate because they don't know who their congressman is or their senator. They don't know who Tammy Baldwin is in Wisconsin. And so they're willing to vote for the Democrat and the Democratic policy, but then they might have some sour feelings about Biden, and maybe they think there's another option with all this noise in the media that somebody else can replace him, so they're not as committed. But in what world is Tammy Baldwin going to win by 5 points and then Trump wins by 6? I'm sure there's Tammy Baldwin, Trump voters out there, but it's a small handful. So what's going to happen is either Tammy's going to carry Biden over the finish line or vice versa. All those people voting for the Democratic senator in the swing states are going to vote for Biden as well because they want to see the Democratic Party agenda win. That being said, AOC had some thoughts on what's going on with the polling. So watch this.
I'm here no matter what. Like, truly. I do think that people underestimate Biden's performance. I think that is how he became president, is through a lot of people underestimating his performance with demographics that are not traditionally valued. And I think that people see where he's weak. They don't often see where he's strong. And just electorally, purely electorally, right? Like, again, suspending some of the other arguments here. And I'm not a professional pollster. I am not a political pundit. I am a person whose job it is to win elections.
And nobody can deny AOC's ability when it comes to winning elections. She was able to unseat somebody from the Democratic Party's leadership to gain her seat in the House. And so why are all these people coming forward and demanding that Joe Biden step down and offering no plan on how to win? I think that we are missing a big piece here. It's fine if you want to make the case for how Joe Biden can't win. But in the next breath, I think you have an obligation to tell us who can win and how it's going to go down. Because we don't have a lot of runway between now and November. And I could make a case for Joe Biden winning. And it sounds like people like AOC and Bernie Sanders are able to as well. I'm not mad at the people who are saying Joe Biden can't win and we need a new nominee. People are terrified of the idea of Donald Trump getting back into the White House, and they should be. I am confident that our leaders like Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries will figure this all out behind the scenes, and Joe Biden will be on board for whatever we do as a party. We'll be united, and we will finish this election strong and defeat Donald Trump and all these MAGA Republicans. So just stay patient. Let's not beat each other up over this. Stay optimistic, and we got this.